Hey guys, welcome to the Community Difference in Plano. As the real estate market is continuing to fluctuate, mortgage rates are going up. You probably have a lot of questions. So as a Plano resident, what do you want to do? What's your options? What do you have to do, right? We're going to talk about that next right here on the Community Difference.
Tune in to watch our communities grow. See how our citizens, local governments, churches, small businesses, schools, and our local sports teams are coming together and partnering to make the difference. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to the Community Difference, Plano, Texas, with your host, Nathan Smith, and powered by the Difference live stream radio and podcast. So if you love your community and you love supporting the folks and businesses that make your community so special, then we invite you to like, follow, and subscribe to our pages, and then tune into each show to experience the community difference.
Hello and welcome to the Community Difference Plano. I was getting some crazy doubled feedback. I don't know if you've ever talked in a stadium where you hear echo, but halfway through the hook point it started echoing back, and I'm like, this is really difficult. So anyways,
it was sounding good. It was sounding good.
Okay,
on this
yeah, in my ear I was like, it was literally hearing me and then a second delay, and I started panicking. I don't know what happened, but I fixed it. So anyways, we've got a great show for you guys here today. I don't know if I got to finish at the hook point, but as you are navigating kind of this difficult, crazy market in terms of mortgage rates and real estate prices, what do you want to do, right? What are your options, especially if you are in the non-conforming kind of self-employed business owner space? Can be a little bit more challenging, a little more difficult, but we've got the perfect couple of guys here from Two Mortgage Guys, good friend Jonathan, who's in my networking group, and his buddy, his business partner, Tyler, who's on with us today. And so we're going to talk about those things. We're going to answer a lot of your questions that you may have. And we're just going to see that process through from mortgage to title to everything. So we'll get a good grasp of what you need to do as a Plano homeowner as you're getting ready to get into that space of selling your home and getting another home, but just buying a home, building a home, whatever that looks like. So again, welcome. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July. Hopefully you did not have any major firework issues or light anything on fire. Myself and my family went to the Plano fireworks I think they did it out of Collin College. We got to sit at Bob Woodruff Park and watch that. So that was really exciting. And that was, it was very peaceful. Didn't do anything crazy big. Just got myself, my wife, and my son and our son and our child to be all headed out in the car, reversed the van, backed the van up, got the chairs out, cooler, just sat there, played, watched the fireworks. It was really, really nice. So hope everybody had a great time. You might notice, of course, that it is super hot last night. It wasn't too bad, got a little bit of a breeze. But one of the things, we want to do just to add value on these shows is just kind of give you an update on what's coming up weather-wise. Not that we're professional weathermen. I don't want to do that. I want to leave that to the experts. But anytime you can be aware of what's going on, that's certainly a good thing. So a couple of things as we look to see what's coming up. If I was an actual weather person, I would just get up there and I would say it's hot, because that's really what it is. I think it's 101 right now. Here's the good news. In about 10 days, it will get out of the 100-degree weather. So you've got 10 days with no rain to figure out what the heck you're going to do. On a serious note, make sure that you are watering your yard, your foundation. You can do what I did yesterday and accidentally overfill your son's kiddie pool and walk away and forget about it for a while. That will also water the lawn. I don't know that I recommend doing it that way, but it did work. So I guess the foundation got watered, which is a good thing. So just make sure you're staying on top of those things. Air conditioning, we had to have the air conditioning guy come out. One of the big problems right now, of course, is having the outside unit getting really clogged, right? And if you, it can be pollen, it can be cottonwood. Apparently, we had cat hair in ours, which we don't even have cats. We have cats that come and poop in our yard, which doesn't make my wife happy. They're not our cats, so we're trying to figure out a way to get them out. Apparently, they shed a lot. In between that and weeds and debris and other kind of stuff, it was causing our outside unit to overwork and trip the breaker. And so that's a really big thing. Those are obviously working very hard in the summer heat. So make sure you're getting your air conditioning units checked. Find a reputable person. not some spare person that says they'll do it for $29. It's probably undercharging you, and they're going to rip you off. So make sure you find a good person, but don't wait till it's too late, because those things are not cheap. So just want to keep you apprised of that. A couple of things coming up. We mentioned last week when we had, I think it was middle of June, when we had our segment on school safety. We had Jared Hutchins on, licensed firearm trainer, and we had one of the Plano ISD parents who talked about what we wanted to see in Plano ISD from a safety standpoint, different options, obviously in light of the Uvalde shooting. And it was a really good conversation. I checked with my contact at the Plano School Board, Miss Angela Powell. She let me know that they are having a school board meeting. I think they don't have one in July. They take July off. And then the first one in August is going to be August 2nd at 6 p.m. You can watch that online. I recommend going there, showing up, making sure your voices are heard, getting a good idea of what safety measures are in place, things that you'd like to see added or changed, or just questions that you have. Obviously, Plano has done a great job with school safety, but you never know until, God forbid, something happens. So you want to make sure we're doing a really good job in being informed as parents that are involved in the school district. So they give you every opportunity to let your voice be heard. So make sure that we are taking advantage of that. Speaking of Plano, most recently they have hired a new superintendent. Ms. Teresa Williams appointed I believe officially June 1st. You can read about her blurb on the Plano ISD website, so make sure you check that out. As soon as we can, we'd like to get her on the show and just kind of talk to her, get her experience on what she's done before Plano ISD, what she sees as the future of Plano ISD, and just some really cool things. So we're working on getting a conversation with her. May not be till later on in the school year, but again, a lot of exciting things happening. So as promised at the beginning of the show, we want to talk about mortgages. We want to talk about that process, right? Because if you are not a mortgage person like myself, I am not. I'm far from it. I don't know anything about it. Thank God, when I bought a house, I think I had a good person that my realtor recommended. But I have the privilege of networking and being in a networking group, run a Master Networks chapter in Plano, which shameless plug, if you are looking for a group to plug into, you have a business that you just want to get more exposure to, learn how to improve yourself as business skills, level up your business, but also find referrals and be able to really connect with some great people. Master Networks is a great place to start. In fact, our chapter, we're growing rapidly. We're looking for a lot of different industries, a lot of different seats. So great time to check that out. You can contact me, and my contact numbers will scroll across the bottom here in just a moment, or you can contact Lyndon, who's also part of the group. But as I digress, pleasure to be in group with Jonathan Ferrell, and we're going to get a chance to speak with him today and his business partner, Tyler, who I'll go ahead and bring in Jonathan. And Jonathan, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Nathan. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
I am very, very pleased. Now, nothing official yet, but you've talked about, possibly getting something together on the difference as well. A podcast, you're doing a show, so that's in the early work. So we'll see how that goes. You and Tyler, but it's a pleasure to have you on today with us. Now you are obviously in the Collin County area, so I ask this to all of our guests: what is it that, first of all, before you tell us where you came from, because that's an interesting story, but what is it that you like about the Plano area, Collin County area? Favorite places to eat, things to do, hang out, etc.
Well, just from the business development standpoint, it's what we're seeing is there's so many corporations, there's so many companies that are moving into this area, and that's driving a lot of growth. Now, compared to a lot of other states, business is coming in here, right? And that's important. That's one of the reasons why myself and my family moved here is, we went and looked at a lot of different places, but as soon as we saw, this place is bumping, DFW in general, we're seeing what's coming into it rather than what's departing. That was kind of the thing that really drove us to this area. We ended up settling in Collin County. We love it. I will tell you, probably favorite restaurant right now is Mi Dia from Scratch. I'm just going to give them a little plug there. Got some awesome Mexican food, awesome tacos. So been there a couple times already. So they're probably going to keep getting my money. And then, of course, just, Earl's and Legacy West. That place is another awesome place to go to. So that's kind of where we go wrong.
You can't go wrong with Legacy West or Shops at Legacy or Legacy Hall, all the legacies, tons of good places to eat out there. Now you have you're not from Texas originally,
nope.
Which we do forgive you for, but you got here as fast as you could.
Absolutely.
So talk about that. Where are you from? How did you end up navigating to the great state of Texas, and specifically North Texas, Collin County area?
Absolutely. So I am a California refugee. That's what I've been going around and saying. I, originally am from California. I just been saying I've been visiting California for the last 31 years, and then ended up calling, Texas home. So, biggest thing for us, I was located in between LA and San Diego. Pretty conservative area. I mean, basically when you start taking a look, I got 3 kids. I got a 5, 4, and 1-year-old. And when you start taking a look at like what the school system is, and this is something Tyler and I have been talking about quite a bit. We both have, young kids. When you look at basically what is coming in and what they're like the outside influences that are coming into even the school district from a young age, it's enough to just, drive everyone away. So, I do miss the beach a little bit, but that's about it. And of course the people, there's a lot of, good people out that way. But other than that, I mean, we're very happy to call, Texas home and be out here. So.
Now, have you ever been to the prestigious Galveston Beach?
I have not been to the Galveston Beach yet, but
that's a joke. It's not good, but
okay.
Padre's pretty cool. Padre's pretty cool, but the Galveston.
Yeah, we like the lakes. Right now, the lakes have kind of been, that's been what we've been doing. We've been Lake Ray Roberts quite a couple times. We've been to Lake Texoma, so they still get like a beach-like atmosphere, but as far as like the salt water and everything else, we haven't really seen too much of that, which we're completely fine with. So that's what
there are a lot of lakes. There's a lot of lakes. In fact, every lake in Texas but one is man-made, I believe.
Yeah.
At least I learned that.
Which is important. I mean, you take a look at like the drought, so California is under, heavy drought regulations even again, and it's just like, it's a consistent thing. So, water bill was getting up to, I think $150, $160 a month just for water. And that was with, only watering 1 to 2 times a day. So that's that's one of the 15 reasons to back up and leave. But biggest reason is more for the kids, what was, going down with that. So.
Well, talk to me before you got into mortgages. What were you doing? What was were you doing 9 to 5, or did you have another business?
No, so I grew up in basically the golf industry. My dad is one of the employment directors for the PGA of America, and in doing wow. I was going to follow in my father's footsteps, and decided that golf was not for me because I was not very good at it. So I was at a private country club. That was the Jack Nicklaus Club. And actually that's where Tyler and I met originally, because he and I worked together there. I finally dragged him into the mortgage side with me. But, just taking a look at it, I ended up marrying my high school sweetheart, Kristen. I was looking for basically a career path, and looking at who was part of the membership there. A lot of them were in the financial industry. And so for me, I always wanted to do something in sales. So sales related, that was the route that I was going to go, whether that was, selling for a golf course or moving into real estate, some form of real estate. And basically it got to the point where it was, mortgages, real estate, and ended up jumping, instead of going to 50-50, I ended up taking both feet, jumping into the mortgage world. That was about 11 years ago. And it was one of the best decisions that I could have ever made. So that brought me here. What ended up happening was I ended up running a branch out in California. COVID shuts us down as far as going into the office. We can't really do too much of anything. So our whole world moved remote. And so that allowed for me the opportunity to move my family to a different state, being able to conduct business in multiple states right now. So, but that's pretty much what brought me out this way.
So what is it about mortgages? I mean, you said you could have been in any type of sales, or, you went from golf pro shop or golf courses to like, how did you, what was the story where that just emerged one day? Like, oh, mortgages. I know you said it was between real estate and mortgages, but like, is it just because that was the sales environment that you wanted to be in?
No, well, it's more along the lines of, what were my goals? My goal was to assist as many people as possible. And the American dream is homeownership, right? So if I can take somebody and walk them through the steps of whether that's, buying their first house or buying their 10th property. We have, clients that Tyler and I just took an application of one of our very good past clients who we've closed over 15 transactions with, and he wants us to purchase another property right now that's going to add to his portfolio. But then again, we're also working with the client who is looking at buying their first property. And again, from the perspective of allowing somebody to achieve the American dream, which is homeownership, that was one of the routes that I really wanted to take. So real estate, that's, one end of the transaction, mortgages were the other end. Now, believe it or not, I was not very good at math, so I don't know why I chose mortgages over real estate at that point, but I ended up going into
by now
that was with math. So now I'm good at it. So I'll just say that.
But by now, with all the software they have, they do all the math for you.
It calculates it all for me. I don't really do too much.
It's not like you're back there in an abacus, like just calculating things.
No chance.
Well, man, we're going to take our first commercial break, and then when we get back, we'll bring Tyler in. We'll dive into the details, and we'll go from there. So you guys stick around. We'll be right back on the Community Difference Plano.
Tired of that north of the border seasoning? Thinking there's got to be more than just salt and pepper to flavor your steak? Your brother-in-law yapping that he's the grill master? Here's your solution. Goodness Steak Seasoning. It's a blend of 9 unique herbs and spices that'll have your mouth saying, goodness. What was once just for steak night for the family is now being enjoyed by thousands of families across the USA. Grab a bottle or two today at Ham's Meat Market off the Square in McKinney, Profound Foods in Fairview, and at bringthetasty.com.
Welcome back to the Community Difference. It's funny because every time we watch that commercial, like I use that stuff all the time. In fact, Jason, the guy that owns Goodness Steaks, is also in our networking group, which again, just the power of networking, pretty big deal. Mm-hmm. So I know you've bought a bottle or two from him. Is that correct, Jonathan?
Oh yeah. I put it on everything.
Yeah. In fact, I had it up here at the office. I was supposed to bring it home, and I had it up here. We put it in some queso the other night. We had a big event here. Put it in queso. It was like revolutionary. And my wife's like, "Did you bring it back?" I'm like, crap, I forgot it. So, in fact, I'm going to write that down right now because
put it on your list.
She'll be mad at me if I don't bring back the seasoning. So.
Yeah, it's funny. He put it on. Actually, how I first tried it, he's like, "Hey, you got a burger?" I was like, "Yeah, I got a burger." He's like, "Put this on there," and like the burger was good. Then you put the seasoning on, and it was like, oh, "Okay, this is what's up." So definitely got to give a plug out to Jason.
Well, yeah, you guys got to check out. Go to bringthetasty.com. Phenomenal story behind Goodness Steak Seasoning. Jason's a great guy, and you will not be sorry. I can tell you that 100%. Okay, well, let's bring in Tyler, and let's just talk. First of all, Tyler, welcome from, I guess you're in California, correct?
That's right, Nathan. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. We don't have a lot of Californians on the Plano Community Difference show, so you're the first, so that's a big deal.
All right.
But because of that, we need you to tell us just something about Jonathan that nobody knows. We'll just start off with that.
No.
Something that nobody knows?
Or that most people don't know. Something surprising. I don't know.
Something surprising. I was going to say just his, I don't know. There's so many stories that are jumbling through my head. You're putting
a lot of
spot.
stories.
So over the next 40 minutes, I'll think of one. But people do know this when they meet him, though. He is a big Star Wars fan. Is really into that. So that's a good conversation starter with him. You can get him going for hours.
Okay, I think didn't we talk about that briefly, Jonathan? I feel like
we talk about that all the time. Yeah,
we had a Star Wars conversation.
I got Mandalorian, Grogu, Baby Yoda. And
that or talk hockey. He likes to play ice hockey, so he's a bruiser. He's a bruiser up in front of the net.
I did know that.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler, thanks for jumping on with us, both you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So it's was it noon, 12:19 out there in California? So
yes.
You guys were both in the golf industry, and that's where y'all met. It's where correct? You guys met at the golf course.
Yeah, I met at a private club, was getting in the industry. He was actually the one that trained me on my first day. So Funny story, I actually ended up late. My alarm didn't go off. I showed up late and, he's telling the other guy, oh, he's probably not going to last. And 15 years later, now we're business partners and have a great relationship.
I was like, there's no way this guy's going to amount to anything. There's no way this guy's going to amount to anything. 30 minutes late on his first day.
You got to have faith in people, Jonathan. I mean,
I know.
Everybody makes mistakes.
First impression.
Didn't make a good first impression, but definitely made up for it. And, had a long industry in the golf industry, ended up becoming a golf pro. So I was teaching a lot of junior golf, teaching lessons, playing tournaments, running the pro shop, things like that. After a while, when I met my now my wife, just realized that it wasn't the career path I wanted to go down, wanted to not work every holiday and every weekend, be away from, our future family. And Jonathan, over the years, when he got out of the industry and got in the mortgage industry, was always reaching out to me and, hey, Tyler, I know you'd be great at this. You're good at math. You're, good with numbers, good with people. Realtors love playing golf. And I just, shunned it off. And then eventually I came back and said, hey, that offer that you mentioned, is that still stand? And, the power of who right? And then now 5 years later, we're in the industry and partners and, on this wild ride, and it's been awesome.
So y'all were there at the golf course for a while then together. It seems like.
Yes. Yeah, a couple of years. Definitely a couple of years together. So.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah,
it sounds like the way you speak about golf, Tyler, it seems like you're a better golfer than Jonathan.
Oh, way better.
If we play scratch, yes, but he tends to sandbag me. So, I give him some shots, and somehow when the money's on the line, the best comes out of him. So
you'll have to come out and play.
His dad taught him well.
You'll have to come out and play with us sometime whenever you're in
Definitely
town.
Looking forward to it.
That'll be fun.
He's flying out, so he's got somewhere to stay, so in a car when he comes. So he'll be flying out.
All right.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right in, guys. Talk about before we get into the details, because I want to kind of approach some of this from the layman's perspective that just doesn't know anything about mortgages. Probably most people, quite honestly. But I wanted to give you guys a chance to talk about two mortgage guys. I love the name. It's pretty self-explanatory. Now, I know you told me the other day, now that you guys have hired more people, still two mortgage guys. You can't change the name every time you hire somebody. But talk about what makes you guys unique, kind of your vision, your goals, what you guys are really going for as far as a company in an industry that's quite competitive. But what kind of sets you guys apart in that industry?
Yeah, the one thing that sets us apart, Nathan, is that the biggest thing is the communication aspect, right? So if you're working with us compared to a traditional bank, I mean, during the hours of 9 to 5, you're able to get a hold of your bank. During the hours of 24/7, you're able to get a hold of both of us. So communication is key. The one reason why our realtor partners love working with us is if I'm in an appointment, they know that they call Tyler, and Tyler can get things handled. If Tyler's in an appointment, they know that if they call me, things get handled. So we come from a customer service background. So that was what the golf industry taught both of us. It's to be that customer service team. And we basically formed the company that way. It's a matter of constant communication and providing as much upfront communication as possible, but then also delivering on that. Now, the nice thing is because we are a team and we work on every loan together, there is that constant communication factor. The other thing is, as you're working with us, because we're more of an individualized team rather than just a bank, we don't have set hours. And not to say that, there's boundaries that are put involved, but on Saturday, Sunday, when you need a pre-approval letter, if you're calling us, we're answering the phone and we're able to get you that pre-approval letter. So that's kind of the biggest thing. The other thing is competitive wise, as far as interest rates, we are probably, if not the most competitive when it comes to rates. So we offer a variety of different programs. The majority of who we work with are veterans. We work with a lot of veterans, first-time home buyers, self-employed business owners. That's one of the reasons we have a bunch of CPA partners who refer us a bunch of business because they know that we know how to put the deal together to make it work. So when it comes down to it, there's a loan program that's out there for everybody. And whether you're going through your 800 credit score or even the 620 credit score, 580 credit score, we have something for you. It's just going to be a matter of how we put the deal together so that way we can get you into the home.
Well, let me ask you this. So, obviously rates at an all-time low for a long time, and now they've gone up a little bit. Still not really high compared to all-time highs back in the 70s. So people, maybe panicking unnecessarily. And depending on where you are, and obviously the market in California is way different than the market here in Plano. But Tyler, I'll ask this to you, and then you can kind of popcorn back and forth there. What are some of the major things in general that drive the mortgage rates, up and down, and then specifically in the market we have now? What are some things that are affecting those rates? And because sometimes you'll hear the increase in mortgage rates might be a good thing overall for the economy, but not necessarily for the home buyer at that particular time. What are some of those factors that are driving those changes?
Yeah, I mean, there's a myriad of factors, right? So, I mean, plainly put, we tend to follow some of the bond markets, the treasury yields. So if you're seeing those rise, rates tend to be a little lower. So sometimes it can work inversely to what the general stock market is, right? But there's really not one main factor. We don't have one chart that actually says this is what's going to happen with the rates. I mean, as we've seen with COVID, since COVID, everything's been thrown out the window. So if someone says they know exactly what it's going to do, I mean, no one has a crystal ball. I tend to be very wary of that. So that's generally what I would say to that. But yeah, some of the bond market, some of the treasury yields, things like that. Jonathan, do you want to have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so basically when stocks do poorly, typically what happens is people put their money into the bond market, and that's what drives the bond markets up, which then lowers our interest rates. So right now, last week, if you talked to us, we were at close to the 6%. Now we're back down to the 5s just because of what the stock market has done, even this recently. So yeah, mortgages right now are like a moody teenager as far as the interest rates. They go up and down, right? So as far as the timing, it's all about the timing. It's all about weighing what's going on with the market. Different things affect it. When Russia invaded Ukraine, that had a huge impact on our mortgage rates, right? And that's something that's outside of the U.S. that is having an internal impact as far as their interest rates. So it's a number of things that impact it. Obviously, we're seeing the repercussions of that in different aspects. Obviously, I went to go buy a thing of apples and it was $6 for apples instead of $3. So, there's a lot of factors that come into play there, but the majority of what it is it's what the bonds do. Our mortgage rates are specifically tied to the bond market, and they're not tied to when the Fed says we're going to increase or decrease interest rates. There's no direct impact on that. That is more for consumer credit. So anything credit card related, home equity line of credit related, auto loans, those types of things, those are directly impacted by the Fed announcing that they're going to increase or decrease the interest rates. Mortgages are indirectly impacted by that. So they will be impacted by those decisions. But I will tell you, when the Fed has announced that they're going to increase interest rates, that is decreased mortgage interest rates. So again, it's kind of it's interesting because it specifically ties to the bonds. And so when the bonds are doing well, interest rates are getting better. When stocks are doing well, people are pulling their money out of the bond market and putting it into stocks, and that typically raises our interest rates. So
if you understood all that, that's good. And if you didn't, then you probably need to have a more in-depth conversation with Jonathan and Tyler. Maybe I'll have some like a pop-up book that really explains it really nicely with charts and graphs and pictures.
Yeah. We have all the charts and graphs. We could show all that. So
yeah, I definitely need the pictures because that seems like something a little more complex. So that's exciting. So really, I guess then depending on the market, you can always find if it's high, if it's low, wherever it is, you guys are going to always be competitive within wherever the market, wherever the interest rates are. And how do you? Correct. Is it because of your relationships with certain lenders, or what allows you guys to seem to undercut a little bit, if that's a good word, kind of where the average rates are in the market?
Specifically due to the relationship, right? So like if we're working, so we have 28 investors that we sell loans to, or that we can originate loans through. And that allows for us to take a look and see, okay, this investor is at this today, this investor is at this today. So we're going to go ahead and send our loans to this investor over here. And it really just depends because each investor has different parameters. So you might fit the box with this investor, but you don't fit the box with these 27 other investors. So sometimes it's, hey, we have to go to this investor. They're the only one that's available. But if you have good credit, putting down 20%, even 10% for that matter, because you're going to fit in the majority of the different boxes. And then it's going to be, okay, who's the most competitive as far as pricing? And that's who we're going to go ahead and send the loan to. So that kind of allows for us to be able to shop around for you and say, this is the best option. We're going with this option today. And sometimes the investor who's the quickest and fastest might not be the best as far as rate. So it always just depends specifically on how quickly we need to close, what the timetable is for everybody, what specifically they're looking for. Do they need lender credits? Meaning, we'll give money towards closing costs, that sort of thing. And that way we can take a look and find out the options and then be able to present those options to our clients.
That's okay. That makes a lot of sense. So we're going to have a commercial break here. When we come back, first we're going to hit a couple of big events that are happening in Plano, and then we'll come back to you guys. And Tyler, I want to ask you specifically when we come back from break, just to kind of give us the definition of conforming versus non-conforming, and when would you need it as a applying for a loan, one over the other. Kind of flesh that out for us, because that's a term you hear a lot, but I think probably a lot of people don't necessarily understand that. So we'll hit all that on the other side of the break. We'll be right back.
The Difference Radio, live stream and podcast, the voice of small businesses and the communities they serve.
Over the last 24 months, The Difference has evolved into a powerful internet media company that helps small businesses and local communities and nonprofit organizations create, produce, broadcast, and distribute a variety of shows, all designed to empower our communities, the businesses, the people, the places, and the events that make our cities, communities, and the folks that live there so very special.
With almost 1.5 million viewers and listeners in the last 2 years, The Difference and its unique strategy of positive impact branding has helped communities and small businesses be seen, be heard, and be remembered.
In a world that is consumed with negative press, media manipulation, and propaganda, The Difference, along with many others who believe in and support The Difference, understand that there is no better way to make the difference in our communities than to highlight the unsung heroes and high achievers that call our towns and communities home. And we wanted to create a platform that does just that, one that brings awareness to and reminds folks of the goodness that lives within so many of us and our neighbors.
And don't forget to hit that like, follow, and subscribe button, and tune in each week so you can experience The Difference.
Welcome back to the Community Difference. We are in the second half of our show here. I want to bring some things to you guys' attention before we jump back in. Here at the Difference, we're always trying to really just kind of share with you things that are going on in the community. There's a really cool website. I'm going to have Lyndon bring it up here. It's called Local Deals, and we'll have him post it in the chat here, or the comments for everybody to see. But on here, you can actually type in your city, right? It's todayslocaldeals.com, type in your city. And in so doing, you're going to find pretty much all these different coupons for different businesses in Plano, in your city, whatever city that is. A lot of retail stuff, some restaurants, things. It's really cool. Just, places that we're already shopping at, right? Might as well save a little $1 or $2 here and there. Say $1 or $2, that's like 60% on Old Navy. So we know some of you like to go to Old Navy. That's okay. We won't judge you. But hey, with gas prices the way it is, it's obviously a good time to be able to save money where we can. Additionally, right, you try to figure out things to do for summertime. We've had a lot of different nonprofits and organizations on here. So many of them are looking for opportunities for volunteers or just things to get involved in your community, right? And so I want to take a second and share this with you here as we bring this up. Lyndon, do you have that? There it goes. So we'll also share this in the comments as well. But you just got to scroll through here. All of these different nonprofit groups and clubs. We had the Lions Club, Rotary Club on. All these different things for you to volunteer at, take your kids to. I don't know if you have a criminal charge, you got to do some community service. Hopefully that's not the case. You can certainly do that at some of these places. But all these different clubs and groups that are really doing a great job of giving back to Plano. So make sure you take some time. It's limited, like I said, I'll post the links to both of those in the comments here shortly. Take some time to go over those, see some areas where you might want to get involved or volunteer, or help your kids get involved and volunteer, or just join a club from a networking perspective or a way to give back to the community. Always, always, always a good thing. So a couple of big things coming up actually right now. We already missed it for today, but just want to remind everybody, Plano has Toddler Tuesdays the first Tuesday of every month from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., 1 hour. It's at the Crayola Experience on West Park Boulevard. First Tuesday of the month, if you check on visitplano.com, they always have what they're doing for Toddler Tuesdays. I know my wife, we have a toddler. If you have kids at home, man, it's a great thing to be checking out. What are some things we can do as moms or dads, whoever's watching the kids, or maybe both of you guys are taking turns, whatever that looks like in your family. Anytime you can find some event, something to do outside the home, certainly a good thing. Plano does not lack any opportunity to get our kids out involved in things, which is certainly a good thing. Tomorrow, July 6th, if you're into yoga, which I used to be, and then I got out of shape, so I probably need to get back into yoga again. Texas pool, the iconic Texas pool, big shape of Texas, built back in 1960 on Springbrook Drive in Plano. They're going to have yoga by the pool, then obviously you can cool off in the pool because it's going to be hot, as we talked about earlier. Also tomorrow night, July 6th, Kids Night Out, Parents Night Off, which is really cool, July 6th, 5 to 8 p.m. That's at the Shops at Willow Bend Mall. Again, check out the event section at visitplano.com for more information. And then also tomorrow night, the Sunset movie series, they're showing Spider-Man No Way Home. That's a free entrance. Yeah, it's a great movie. Nice. Great movie. Legacy Hall, Box Garden. That's 7800 Windrose Avenue. I can't talk. In Plano, Texas. So grab your free ticket. Spider-Man No Way Home. That's the newest Spider-Man, and it's a really, really good movie. So that's a great time to spend with your kids and family tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. So make sure you're marking your calendars. Always be checking what's going on. A lot of fun things happening in Plano. So Tyler, we'll come back to you before the break to talk about, hey, what is a non-conforming versus a conforming loan? Talk about the difference, what that is.
Yeah, that's a great question. So simply put, a conforming loan is something that follows the guidelines and fits in the box of Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, the two major guidelines bodies for mortgages and for loans. A non-conforming loan is the one that doesn't fit it. So usually, if we're going to go non-conforming with someone, it's because a lot of times with someone that's self-employed, maybe they don't want to use tax returns to show income. So we can do vague statements. We can do something that is outside of that scope, right? So that's where the non-conforming comes into play. Or if the loan amount is too high, so people hear jumbo loan. A jumbo loan is a type of a non-conforming loan. That just means the loan amount is above what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac allow for the conforming loan limit.
What is that? Is that a set number across the country, or is it by state?
So there is one baseline number across the country, but depending on what county you're in, it can actually vary. So I know in Collin County, I think it's $647,200 is the conforming loan limit. But you could go into a different county, or even like out here in California, there's some that are all close to $1 million for the conforming loan limit, right? So that's why that can change. So just because you hear one number doesn't mean it's the number that fits for you. But also, like I said, it's not just the loan amount that defines conforming and non-conforming. There's a lot of other factors depending on which box that Jonathan talked about that you want to fit in before. And we have a number of investors for that. So that would be the best way to explain it without having a 20-minute conversation.
So every time, so when we come to our networking group, we always spend time, like 30 seconds, and talk about our businesses and what we do, type of referrals for. And Jonathan always starts out by saying, I like big loans and I cannot lie. And
that's right.
One time he tried to rap the Sir Mix-a-Lot
I did.
version.
I rapped it.
It went well. I mean, relatively speaking.
I'm sorry.
No, it was hey, if the goal is to be remembered, he was very memorable.
Yeah.
So when we talk about big loans, I guess what you're talking about is anything over the conforming limit, which you say can vary. So talk about the different options that you guys offer, Jonathan, as far as when you have somebody that's looking to purchase over that amount, whatever it is, the baseline or in that particular county, what does that process look like? What's the first thing you do when you're talking to a client to get the ball rolling toward being able to help them in that way?
So biggest thing that we always take a look at is comfortable monthly payment, right? So because somebody might say, hey, I want an $800,000 loan, but then not come to realize that it's a $6,000 payment, right? So first and foremost, what we do is we go over the different monthly payment options with them. And then that's how we kind of determine, okay, here's the purchase price that you should be looking for and kind of solidify everything around that. Now, again, the non-conforming limit, we've had, Tyler and I just completed a loan, I think it was last year. It was a $1.6 million loan for a gentleman. Yeah. And so, again, that was considered a non-conforming loan because it's over the conforming loan limit, but it still followed traditional guidelines. So we took a look at bank statements. The gentleman, owns a granite company, and he was making quite a bit of money per month. So we were able to put him into a specific program, which was a jumbo loan that followed more of the traditional guidelines. Then again, we've also had a non-conforming gentleman who bought in like Laguna Beach, I think is what it was, and it was 20% down. He was showing not enough income on one tax return, but then enough income on the other tax return. So we put him with a non-conforming product that was allowed, or that allowed for him to be able to utilize that 1 year's tax return. So again, it specifically can come down to what the investor wants, because there's different investors that are non-conforming investors where you don't fit in their box. And so we have to then go and identify which investor is going to accept this type of loan. So as far as that's concerned, like we have a number of jumbo lenders that are available that are just strictly jumbo. We have a lot of lenders that will do bank statement only loans. So whether that's 12-month or 24-month bank statement only loans, we have a P&L only loan where a CPA can then complete a full-blown P&L, and that's what the investor will take in order to validate income. So there's a number of options that are available, especially for somebody who is self-employed, who's looking to purchase at this high. Maybe you're taking home quite a bit of money, but you're not reporting it per se. Now, there's a lot of write-offs and everything.
Just to confirm, when you say P&L, profit and loss, is that what you're
correct? Profit and loss. So, and that is a full, fully audited profit and loss by an accounting firm. So it's not just, hey, here's my napkin.
Here's what I printed out.
Yes.
I swear I made $1 million last year.
We've had somebody try that and did not go through. So, so that is a fully audited profit and loss by a CPA or accounting firm. So there's a number of alternative ways to be able to show, the income if it's not on the tax return per se. Now, I will say, I'm going to give a little plug for us. Like CPAs, if you are listening to this and you do want to have a discussion with us, we work with a number of CPAs as far as game planning and purchase for this next year. So a lot of the times what we'll do is we'll sit down and discuss with the business owner. Here's the different, we want to look at a couple different things for you. And, maybe next year is when you're going to buy. So we'll start game planning. Okay, here's what we're going to need for this next year in order to get you to the point of being able to purchase. So if you are a CPA or you want us to work with your CPA, we love working with CPAs. They're kind of one of our favorite sources to bounce some ideas off of. So,
well, in a moment, we have the pleasure of speaking with a secret guest that we won't tell. I'm not going to announce her yet, but before we do that, because it's a big part of the process, what would you guys say, Tyler, John, either one of you, if you are self-employed, if you're probably going to be in the market for a jumbo loan or just non-conforming in general, if you're preparing for that, like what are some things? Like, I have a business and I want to buy a house in the next 2 years, let's say, and I know I'm going to be non-conforming situation. What do I need to be aware of, thinking about, hanging on to as far as records? What are some really important things to take note of there?
So first thing is it's going to depend specifically on what type of entity you are. If you're a sole proprietor, which is a Schedule C, or if you're a corporation, because there's two different ways of taking a look at those types of income. The first thing that I would tell you is if you're planning on doing something within the next year or so, don't wait. Speak with somebody like us now. And the reason being is because you might think in your head, okay, here I'm gearing up for this type of purchase. And if you wait on it, let's just say it comes around to tax season this next year, right, where you need to then file that said tax return. And then we're scrambling, trying to put things together before the filing date. Whereas we can put everything together now, game plan with your tax preparer and say, okay, this is what we need to, this is what we need to report in order to be able to do what we need to do for this next year. So I would say start the process now. Tyler and I just completed a refinance loan for a lady who was going through a divorce. She needed to remove her husband or her ex-husband from title. She was self-employed. We worked directly with the tax preparer and were able to get her to the point as far as qualifying where she was turned down by 4 other banks. Okay, so that's one of the benefits to working with somebody like us is because we'll be able to game plan and prep with you to get you prepared for when the time comes to purchase. So I would just say don't wait. The other thing is to find out specifically what you're filing as, whether it's a Schedule C or as a corporation, because that's going to determine a lot for what you need moving forward for your loan.
Well, speaking of title, that's an important part in the process. When we get back from break, we're going to introduce Shannon Williamson with Stuart Title, and how you kind of talk about your guys' relationship and what that process looks like. We'll get to hear from her in just a moment when we take our final break. So stick around on Community Difference Plano.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses.
Real property management focus. An unmatched level of service to property owners, investors, and tenants throughout the DFW Metroplex.
Katie Owen, the insurance gal, helps overwhelmed Medicare-eligible people successfully navigate the enrollment process. When turning 65, retiring, and signing up for Medicare for the first time, it can be confusing. So it's important to get guidance from someone you can trust. Katie helps her clients navigate the enrollment process in a way that eliminates the feeling of being overwhelmed and unsure and leaves her clients feeling relieved and confident. If you have questions about the Medicare process and want advice from someone you can trust, reach out to Katie at 972-943-3943 or at her website, www.insgal.com.
When you need a trusted roofing company on your side to help you out with storm damage repair for your roof, call Cook DFW Roofing. Serving Anna, Melissa, Princeton, Prosper, Van Alstyne, and all of the DFW area.
Red Branch Realty and owner realtor Ashley Gentry are true champions at every level. As a top producer, Ashley Gentry and Red Branch Realty truly embody their mission of being your supporter and partner in your personal real estate journey. So if finding the best representation possible in achieving the American dream of homeownership is important to you, give Ashley a call at 972-342-1869. WeatherTech General Contracting. We make your home renovation dreams a reality.
And by
Alan Lester, branch manager and team lead for the One Group, a branch of Town Square Mortgage. With over 22 years in the mortgage lending industry, Allen and Town Square Mortgage have many loan program options available from conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, jumbo, and many investor and self-employed programs. So if you're looking for the best in the business, give Allen a call at 214-681-0234.
For more information about our sponsors and their services, or if you would like information on how you and your business can partner with or sponsor this show, or others like it, just check the show description or comments for the relevant links and contact information. And now back to the show.
All righty, welcome back. I think we lost Tyler there for a second. Hopefully he'll be back in. Well, let's not waste any time. Let's bring in Shannon Williamson, with Stuart Title. Shannon, how are you doing this morning?
Hey guys, I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
I just said morning. It's afternoon. I hope you're still doing well this afternoon.
I am, thankfully.
We're glad you're here. And really, first of all, just take a quick second. How did you get involved, build that relationship with two mortgage guys, with Jonathan and Tyler?
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story. I think Jonathan will probably know the names better than I do, but all I know is I got a text message from my sales manager one day, Nate, and he said, hey, you need to reach out to this guy. My buddy back in California said he's in mortgage and he just moved to the DFW area and he needs a good title rep so that y'all can partner together. And so I was like, all right, cool. So I just reached out to him. We met for coffee. We hit it off really well. And I mean, we've already done quite a few things together. We did a big charity event early last month, and we passed some names back and forth to each other. So
we got a lot more coming too.
We do. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, how long have you been in the title business?
This is my 5th year in title.
Okay.
I've been with Stuart Title for about 2.5 years. I was with kind of a small local title company before coming to Stuart for my first couple years in the industry. But yeah, it's been 5 years, and I was not planning on liking it this much. It was just going to be a job.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, so it was a pleasant surprise.
If you're going to have a job, it's better to not hate it. That's what my motto was.
Yeah, if it doesn't feel like work, then you're one of the lucky few, and I definitely consider myself to be one of those people.
Well, that's very, very cool. So yeah, I know you guys have a Plano office, which is really cool. Where is your Plano office?
Our Plano office is at the corner of Legacy and Preston. So it's right next to that. I think it's Lifetime Fitness is right across the street there.
not far from all those delicious restaurants we were just talking about earlier in the show. So,
right.
Well, take us through the process, because again, I'm approaching this as somebody that doesn't really understand the process. So, when does title come up in the process of getting a loan, a mortgage and a loan, buying a house, all that stuff? And you can tell that I just am not. It's not my area. So, all the things happen with all the people and the stuff happens. When does Jonathan call you and say, "Hey, I need your help"?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're kind of intertwined the whole time, really. So it kind of starts with what a lot of people do is they tend to start with their real estate agent. So they usually, we like to encourage people, hey, you really should call the mortgage company first to make sure you're even approved to buy a house. But usually it's the other way around. They start with their real estate agent, they look at houses, they get approved. And then once there's an executed contract, so once the seller and the buyer have signed everything and agreed on all the terms and prices and all that fun stuff, that's when they send the contract to the title company. And that's when they also send the contract to Jonathan at the same time. A lot of people think of the title insurance company as really the last stop. It's where you go to sign all your paperwork, which is true. We tend to get all of the lender documents and all of our title docs, and they sign them all at the same time in the same place, usually in our office, sometimes outside of the office. But what I like to tell people is title is really we're just an insurance company, honestly, if you think about it. So in the state of Texas, title companies do title insurance and escrow. So title insurance is just like you would insure your car or you would insure your house. You're insuring the title to your house, making sure there are no issues that come up with that. Make sure there are no liens on the title before someone purchases a new home. So whenever they walk into the door, they have been given from the title company a nice, clean, beautiful title. And that's to the extent of where we insure it. Anything that happens after that, after they move in, is really up to them and their circumstances. So we do that. We do the title insurance, and then we also hold all of the money for the transaction and disperse it out to all of the parties, the seller and the HOA company, and the list goes on and on.
Okay, you explained it so eloquently and it made sense, which I appreciate. What would you say? Same question I asked to Jonathan and Tyler earlier. What would you say? What sets you guys apart? Or because again, there's a lot of title companies. I mean, if you're honest, you probably say there's a lot of good title companies. But what makes you guys unique, or what do you appreciate about Stewart that maybe may not be the case with another type of company or another title company?
Yes, and I appreciate the question too. Well, I think in this industry, it really is, it's all about relationships. It's about who you know and who you come to trust and like, so that whenever you go into a transaction, you know what to expect. You have done this before, you know how they work. We know how they work. We know how we all have an agreement on how we're going to communicate and that kind of thing. Thankfully, I enjoy being at Stewart because it's a very, very large company. So we're one of the biggest title companies in the country. We have 170 locations just in the state of Texas. We started in Houston. Yeah. Wow. We're pretty big. Yeah. We started in California. And in California. Yep. In Houston, I think it's 1870, so it's been a while, and so I appreciate that we've just been around for a really long time. We've been through everything. We made it through 2008 and whatever happened before that. We made it through COVID, and now as we're going into what looks like probably a recession, we're hearing a lot of rumors from other title companies who are letting go of a lot of their salespeople and maybe some of their escrow staff, and they're just kind of preparing themselves for going into this slower season, which is normally supposed to be picking up right now. And Stewart's not doing that. We're actually hiring people. We're looking to add to our team, and we're looking for escrow officers and sales reps and stuff like that. So I always think that's a good sign. When other companies are letting go, we're looking to grow. So I like to have the backing of a large title company.
I'm sure the people that are being let go are happy to know that as well. So as long as they were doing good at their job, sure.
Yes, yes.
I love how you said whatever happened before 2008. I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but you look very young, so that's a good thing. I feel like you are. And other things that happened before I was born.
I don't know what happened before that. That was the biggest thing. I was in 8th grade. So
you were in 8th grade in 2008.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't do the math fast enough. But that's well, that's all right. So you were.
You don't pay attention to what's going on.
You were like 5 at 9/11, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I was in 1st grade.
Okay.
But I do remember that. I remember where I was, and I remember my teacher trying to explain it. We had no idea. We were like, what? Who? All
That's
right.
a tough.
We need to
It's
recess
tough.
now.
So
Yeah.
well, that's very cool. That's very cool. So again, it is about relationships. Obviously, that's a big part of the deal. And Jonathan, just getting to know you, man, you're obviously a great guy. I wish we could talk a little more to Tyler. I guess he had some technical issues, but Shannon, I just realized that you are in Master Networks, as Jonathan mentioned earlier. So we need to do a face to face and get to know each other a little bit here.
Yeah, definitely.
So, which
So
chapter?
Tyler,
Are you in the McKinney chapter?
I'm in the McKinney West chapter. Yeah, we meet.
Is that a newer chapter?
Yeah, it started last year. They started meeting in our office in January of this year. So yeah, it's fairly newish.
Okay, well, we'll definitely. I'll reach out to you here when we're done, and we'll set something up. So
perfect.
Well, guys, I appreciate you very much, Jonathan, Shannon, obviously, Tyler as well. Hopefully, he can figure out his internet situation.
It's because he's from California. That's probably
internet shut off. He said his son turned it off, so we'll figure out what happened.
I thought California maybe put a limit on the internet usage. How they like to do things out there. So
there's a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so hey,
okay.
Nathan, I appreciate you having us on, man. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
absolutely, and we'll definitely have you guys back on. I appreciate it very much. And guys, if this is really a lot of what we're wanting to do is just highlight businesses, obviously, but talk about what you're doing for the community. And obviously, a big part of home buying and home ownership being, as Jonathan mentioned, part of the American dream. Getting this right is very important. Right? Having the right realtor, having the right lender, having the right person entitled, that whole experience. And usually when you find a good one, they know good ones. And that's kind of keeping that circle tight and trustworthy. So guys, it's been great to get to know you a little bit, Shannon. Obviously looking forward to connecting later on. And Jonathan, you too, sir. And that does it for this week, guys. Next week, we're going to have a great show. Another buddy of ours, Jonathan, Juan, is going to be on with
Nice, perfect.
Solar guy, right? You're probably wondering why your air conditioning is either breaking and then your heating bill is skyrocketing. You're like, not your heating bill. If you're heating, something's going wrong. Your air conditioning is skyrocketing. Your electricity bill. There are some other options. Great guy, Juan Scott, through Solnova. He's going to be on. We're going to have some other guests next week. So appreciate it. As always, God bless. Everybody have a great week. And we will talk to you next Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Thank you for tuning into The Community Difference. If you enjoyed the show, take something you learned and apply it in your community or your business in order to make the difference for someone else. Remember, the smallest change begins with a single action, but a single action can make all the difference. A special thank you to today's amazing guests. Also, if you'd like to be on the show to share your unique story and how it made the difference in your community, please contact Lendon Wilson at lendonw@thedifferenceradio.com. Until next time, this has been The Community Difference in Plano, Texas, hosted by Nathan Smith.